Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Everything is Bad new Fangled motion picture show.
What are we doing, Nolan?
We are reviewing Thor Ragnarok.
Yep. This is the Everything is Bad new Fangled motion picture show. And I'm Niall.
And I'm Nolan.
And we are going to be doing a spoiler-free review. Then, partway through, we'll give you a spoiler warning, and then we'll get more in-depth into the movie. Potentially spoilering some things.
Yep.
So, let's get to it, I guess. So I think there was I think there was a a meeting in Marvel Studios that went something like, "Hey, did anyone realize Chris Hemsworth is funny?
Yeah.
We should take advantage of that."
Right? I mean, he was in those little shorts.
Right, during the Civil War ad campaign.
That were really funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chris Hemsworth's hilarious. And this may be the funniest Marvel movie yet.
Yeah, I could see that.
I mean, the Guardians movies are funny and a lot of laugh out loud moments, but this was just like one after another. Just these funny little segments.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's other funniness in it, too. I mean, Jeff Goldblum's...
Yeah, it's not just Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah.
But
like, Tom Hiddleston playing off of Chris Hemsworth, also really funny.
Yep.
Jeff Goldblum,
there's
very funny.
a character named Korg, I think.
Korg.
Yeah, he's hilarious.
He's a
rock person.
A rock person voiced by the director.
Yeah, Taika Waititi.
Yep.
Just several little things that are just pretty funny.
And it's
Carl Urban has some funny moments in it.
Yeah. And it's not just the dialogue too. There's some moments where the editing is used to comedic effect.
Yep. Or just like the composition of the shot.
Right.
Is funny. And like there will be funny situation, like just like the situation they're in will be funny. And but yeah, by far almost everything except for the few moments where he needs to be serious, Thor is almost always being funny.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think it's safe to say though this is the best of the Thor movies. Most
definitely.
I'm one of the few people that I know that actually didn't hate the second Thor movie.
Right. I didn't hate it. It was not a bad movie. It wasn't certainly wasn't the best of the Marvel movies, but
I mean, it was no Iron Man 3. So, it's not the worst Marvel movie.
No. I had mentioned this on the way back that I think part of the problem with Thor, especially the first two, in their reception with the average audience, is that I mean, yes, it's there's superhero movies and there's weird stuff, but Norse mythology on its own is very weird.
Yep. And
largely unknown.
Yeah.
By the average person. It's not taught in school like the way Greek mythology is.
Right, and I think part of it is that so much of Greek mythology is used for high fantasy things that when you start talking about like elves and dwarves and magical weapons and stuff, you're like, what's this D&D doing in my superhero movie
or Lord of the Rings stuff? When Norse mythology was the basis for all that Lord of the Rings and D&D fantasy.
Right. But this movie, I mean, other than it taking some of the elements of the actual myth of the Ragnarok,
which is Norse apocalypse.
Right. It's a Norse reset.
Yeah, well, all the gods die, but then everything's reset.
Yeah, and their excuse for knowing everything that's supposed to happen in the apocalypse is because it's happened before.
Yeah, so they're much like the Mayan calendar, everything's cyclical in Norse mythology.
Yeah.
And so these things that happen will happen again.
In the exact same way. every time.
Right, so they know what the because it's a very specific events of the apocalypse.
Yeah, very, very specific things that happen.
And it's happened before, and it'll happen again. We're getting kind of off track from the review of the movie. We're just sort of setting up
Yeah, but so
Norse
like,
mythology.
other than like borrowing some of the elements from the actual myth of Ragnarok, and it involving Thor and Loki and like some of these characters, actually doesn't have this one actually doesn't have a whole lot to do really with Norse mythology.
Yeah, it doesn't take place that much on Asgard. It actually feels a lot more like a Guardians of the Galaxy movie.
Yeah, it takes Asgard, and instead of making it seem like this
Heaven or
like heaven or like
land of the gods and everything.
Yeah, it makes it feel like just another weird planet in a galaxy full of weird planets.
Although it's not, it is a flat piece of land floating out in space.
Like Discworld.
Yeah, but so yes, in their case, the world is flat. Yeah, they just treat it like another planet. But most of the movie takes place on, I don't remember the name of the planet, but the Grand Master, played by Jeff Goldblum.
Yep.
You might know who he is if you read Marvel comics. He pops up in the Guardians of the Galaxy periodically. Not like a hugely known character even still. But the current run of Guardians of the Galaxy he's featured pretty heavily in.
Yeah.
He runs like this this garbage world, but there's this fighting arena that he controls, and
which you see in the trailers.
Yeah, you see in the trailer, and Thor's pitted against the Hulk.
Yep.
In this fight,
and this is just one more example in a long list of examples of that are movies that show that the Hulk does not justify his own movie and is best used as a supporting character in other people's movies.
Right. I mean, I liked the Hulk in this movie just fine. I had no problems with it, but I don't see where the Hulk could hold his own all that well.
Especially since it's far too late to do.
Yeah, it's too late to do anything.
Well, I mean, it's far too late to do an origin story, and is the Edward Norton movie supposed to be the...
Yeah, that's the canon one.
The canon origin movie, which
with the Marvel universe, current Marvel MCU.
Right, but it was done retroactively, right? Like, they decided on doing the whole Avengers group together thing after...
No, I believe there was a post-credit sequence that's set up.
Was there?
I believe so.
I don't know, I haven't seen that movie all the way through.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I recommend this movie.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if you're even just a casual, like, Marvel movie fan, go see this. It's just a lot of fun. You kind of... It's not super necessary, but you kind of need to have seen the previous Thor movie. Because they do reference the events of that somewhat.
Yeah.
A little bit in the beginning, but overall...
I mean, yeah, you need to set it up so that you know...
what happened at the end of that movie.
Yeah, yeah. You need to know what happened at the end of that, and you need to know... just because of, like, what happened with Loki at the end of that, right?
Yeah.
And it's pretty much the only reason you would need to watch it, because, like, it's specifically what happens with Loki.
But there is
a scene
that kind of, like, tongue-in-cheek kind of recaps that.
Yeah. Which
not
had Matt Damon.
Yeah, not
which we didn't like.
It says it's Matt Damon on IMDb and it's listed uncredited, but neither of us realized it was him. If it is actually him, there's this scene that kind of like takes the events and twists them towards like Loki's side of the story.
Yeah.
But retells them so you get a gist of what it is. So you don't necessarily have to have seen the previous Thor movie. You can like watch that and get it. But the movie's just so much fun. This is just a really fun movie to watch.
Yeah, it really was.
The whole theater was just laughing the whole time through.
The whole way through.
Yep.
So.
And if you are curious, the Immigrant Song is in the movie.
Yeah, twice.
Very well utilized.
Yep. This movie gets the Academy Award for Best Use of the Immigrant Song in a Movie. For sure.
Yep.
So yeah, definitely go see it. And the action in it too. The fight scenes are cool as well. So, and it's not too much of any one. It's not like the whole movie's just like super laid back and funny, but it's also
there are definitely some serious moments.
Yeah,
but it balances those with a lot of lighthearted stuff, and I mean, I think they really utilize Chris Hemsworth well. His talent for comedy, but then he also does the serious things when he needs to, and then the action sequences.
Yep,
are all really well done. Great visual effects.
Well, I mean,
it's
saying at this point saying a Marvel movie had great visual effects is kind of a
it's a given.
Yeah.
There's still movies out there where occasionally the visual effects kind of take you out of it a little bit, because they're not quite up to standards. I think the last one that I thought maybe it was like that King Arthur movie.
Well, I was talking about in Marvel movies specifically.
Yeah, well, never in Marvel movies, but the last movie I saw, big budget movie, is some of the CGI in that movie was obviously CGI.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that on the intellectual level, like, that's CGI. That's a spaceship, of course it's CGI, but it doesn't just pop out as CGI at you.
Right. But yeah, so definitely recommend going and seeing this. I mean, honestly, some randos on the internet telling you to go see a Marvel movie is probably going to have very little influence on your decision to do so.
But if you were looking at this going like, those other two Thor movies, I particularly liked the first one, and then the second one was not terrible. Not as bad as a lot of people said. There were a lot of elements of it I did like, and but I mean, for a lot of people did not like the second Thor movie in particular, and so if they're looking at this going, I didn't like those other Thor movies, should I see this one?
It's such an important Marvel movie, though, because it brings in one of the Infinity Stones.
Yeah. And
like there's some Marvel movies that definitely are just filler and do very little to the overall storyline.
Although it was a really good movie, I thought Ant-Man is kind of that way.
Yeah.
Although it kind of need to introduce Ant-Man to bring him into Civil War, but
the actual events of Ant-Man have
very
little influence on the rest
Spider-Man
of the
Homecoming is the same way. The actual events of Spider-Man Homecoming was very small, and that was intentional.
Yeah.
Because Spider-Man is comparatively a small hero.
Yep.
He's a local, friendly neighborhood hero.
Friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Right. And that was kind of the theme of that one anyway.
Yep.
But this movie, though, it is one of the, like, pushing towards the Infinity War movies that we all know is coming.
Yeah.
So it sort of progresses things in that direction.
Yeah,
as well.
I mean, again, we'll get more into it when we get into the spoiler part, but again, like, no specific event in this movie really, like, pushes the storyline closer to Infinity War.
No, but it brings the Hulk and Thor together,
right?
And back into the Marvel universe when they had been sort of sitting aside. It also progresses because it shows, because I mean, if we know from the end credit sequence on Doctor Strange that Doctor Strange is in this movie.
Yeah. And
he is much more powerful.
Oh,
he's clearly, like, very confident in his power, and
there's a whole scene that's basically just a
look how powerful
Doctor Strange is now.
Yeah, he was just an apprentice. Now he is the master, and
now he is the
Sorcerer Supreme. Yeah, some time has passed. It's not too it's hard to.
The whole Marvel timeline is.
Yeah, well, when they place a movie, like, earlier this year, and it's like, oh yeah, by the way, this movie is actually set several years prior to anything else that you've seen recently. The Doctor Strange movie is actually chronologically one of the earliest movies.
Yeah.
And then now, in this movie, the part that he's in shows off how powerful he really is.
Yeah. And, like, I think that's really the only reason... Because, again, he has very little actual effect on the whole plot.
Yeah, and they could have...
they could have easily written any other...
They could have easily written his purpose out. And we can get into the spoiler.
Yeah. But yeah, his scene was definitely just a exhibition of Doctor Strange's power.
Yeah, so when he next shows up, don't be confused about how powerful he is. Here's a demonstration of his power.
Yep. And I mean, if you've read the comics, Doctor Strange is arguably the most powerful Marvel protagonist.
Except in recent ones where most of the magic in the world has been destroyed, and he's less powerful, but he's getting his groove back.
Yeah, what was that event called?
I don't remember, but this like cult of science or something shows up and is like destroying all the magical artifacts and locations and beings in the world.
Yeah.
Which
so, except in the comic arc that is specifically meant to reduce him down in power level, he's arguably one of the most powerful Marvel protagonists.
Yes, that's true.
And I'm sure they're not going to get into any of that sort of stuff in the movie.
Probably not.
Or in the movies, rather. So, but yeah, go see the movie.
Yep. So, spoiler warning.
Yep.
And, yeah, so the way... Well, we're still on Doctor Strange, I'm thinking about it. The way they could have written it out is just had Loki know where Odin is.
Yeah.
Because his whole purpose was they show up on Earth and Loki's like, oh yeah, I put Odin in this old folks' home, which has been demolished. I don't know where he is. Then Doctor Strange shows up and he's like, yeah, I know where Odin is. He's hanging out on this fjord in Norway.
Yeah, and it's a lot of, while he's explaining all of this to Chris Hemsworth and explaining to Thor and explaining his motivations for why he's helping him, there's a lot of just keep warping around, and like he walks off one edge of the screen and comes on the other edge, and stuff like that.
Yeah, and just like opening portals here and there, and he's like, here, take a seat, and suddenly like Thor's sitting in a chair and he's like looking at her like, how did I get here?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that that's just, I mean, it's a really
they're
cool
just blatant
scene.
displays of power, though.
Right, yeah, they're just blatant displays of power. It's a really cool scene, but overall very unnecessary for the plotline of Thor Ragnarok.
Right. There's a few funny jokes in there with Thor, or Chris Hemsworth showing his like physical acting, like physical comedy acting, where he's just like confused the whole time. He's just like looking around like, what is going on?
Yeah. And
he's like, I don't drink tea. He like pulls up this pitcher of beer, but that was in that post-credit sequence.
Right.
But when he's getting really ready to leave, he's like, oh yeah, and he like holds out his hand for his hammer, and it's like upstairs in the Sanctum Sanctorum, and you hear it like flying and like crashing through stuff, and you just sit there like, sorry about that. Oh, here we go.
You know, it was another like really funny shot that was like a visually funny thing was when Bruce Banner jumps out of that spaceship onto the Bifrost Bridge.
Yeah, that had everyone in the theater laughing because he's like what does he say to her? He says like, you'll see how powerful or how strong I am, or something like that.
He says like you were asking who I was or something like that,
because she only knew him as the Hulk and didn't realize that he's the same person, this Valkyrie character. And then he jumps out of this spaceship and he's like and it's the shot you expect him to land as the Hulk, and then he just slaps down onto the ground as Bruce Banner.
Yeah.
Just like this thud. Like, boop.
Yeah. That was really funny. Oh, man. Yeah, so this movie, like, it blows up Asgard, which is, in the grand scheme of, like, places that Marvel movies have taken place, other than Earth. They probably spent as much time or more in Asgard than anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And they blew it up. They blew it all up.
Those maniacs!
Yep. And they've set adrift in space towards Earth.
Yeah, they're in the spaceship. And then, like, the mid-credit scene, or partway through credit scene anyway, they bump into a huge spaceship, which may or may not be Thanos.
Yeah.
It's
unclear.
Yeah.
Just a huge spaceship it is.
I was hoping they'd bump into the ship from Guardians.
Yeah.
Their new ship, whatever that's called.
That would have been cool.
That would have been, yeah. That would have had the whole, like, if it was obviously the Guardians of the Galaxy, which it wasn't, but if it had been, the whole, like, whole theater probably would have erupted.
Yeah. They're probably saving the moment of Guardians meeting the rest of the Marvel universe for, like, a proper scene in a movie.
Yeah,
because that's going to be a big moment.
Yeah, it's going to be one of the first Infinity Wars movie, I'm sure.
First contact.
Yeah, but yeah, Asgard gets destroyed because they realize that Hela's power comes from Asgard itself, so they unleash Ragnarok on purpose
to destroy
Asgard, thus destroying Hela.
Yeah.
Hela, which is where Hel comes from.
Yep.
Because she is the guardian of her realm is Hel.
Yep. But
there were a lot of there was one joke that was also made everyone laugh, was the because this planet that they're on, controlled by the Grand Master, can only be reached through these portals to other realms and stuff, and the one they have to take to get to Asgard quickly is this massive one, and Thor is like, we're going through that one, and then this other character is like, through the Devil's Anus? To be fair, I did not know what it was called that.
To be fair, I did not know it was called that when I picked it.
Yeah.
Which Bruce Banner mentions is like a collapsing neutron star stuck in a Einstein-Rosen bridge.
Yep. Which I'm sure is what it actually is.
Probably.
Being
like how he's just like, that looks like this thing that we've never witnessed.
Hey, that man has 7 PhDs.
Yep, he did mention that specifically in the movie. So Ken Watanabe was an uncredited role?
There are probably a lot of uncredited roles in this movie. Star Wars usually has a lot of uncredited roles too.
Yeah.
But
yeah, this is definitely probably the most fun Marvel movie since like the first Guardians.
Yeah.
I mean, like pretty much all the Marvel movies have been enjoyable movies. Like I've enjoyed watching Civil War, but it wasn't a fun movie.
Right. It wasn't just like you weren't just like smiling the whole time you were watching it, and
right. I mean, I was interested and enthralled by what I was seeing.
Yeah, you were engrossed in the movie, but it wasn't just like, I'm just having a great time watching this movie. It wasn't like that. Yeah, that's how this movie was. It was oh man, there was some joke where I was trying to think of what it was, where Bruce Banner, it involved Tony Stark, or where because when Thor gets Hulk to turn back into Bruce Banner, they're aboard the Quinjet that the Hulk stole in Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
And so, of course, he turns back and he's naked, and the only clothes in the Quinjet that they can find belong to Tony Stark. So he forces Banner to put them on, and Banner's complains like, "You'd rather have Tony here." He's like, "No, I'd rather have you." And why'd you dress me like Tony then? Because you were naked. Okay, I'll give you that one. And then when the Hulk, there's where the Hulk's in a hot tub and he gets out, and Thor's like, "Oh, you're naked. Okay, that's in my brain now. That's in my brain now. I can't unsee that."
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, then there's that shot where he's like throws the ball at the window.
Intending to break the window.
Intending to break the window, bounces back and hits him in the face.
Yeah. There were a lot of jokes at Thor's expense.
Yeah. Well, which is how it should be.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. I never read the Thor comics, but Thor in mythology, there's a lot of pranks and jokes at Thor's expense.
Yeah, basically every myth revolving around Thor's made out to be pretty foolish.
Most of the time directly related to Loki.
Most of the time Loki's playing a prank on Thor or something. But Thor is the most human of the Norse gods and most relatable, and often like directly, like the Norse gods were worshipped as a pantheon, but Thor was directly worshipped because of his closeness to humanity, because he is the most human, the most.
A lot of ancient Norsemen they wore a little like hammer,
right?
I can't think of the word. Pendants.
Yeah.
Because he was the god that they primarily worshipped. Even though Odin is the chief deity of the pantheon,
and the god of war,
and the god of
wisdom.
Yeah. They worshipped Thor specifically because he was the most human, most relatable to them. But yeah, so as a result, all of their myths involving Thor typically are him being made a fool of.
Yeah, and typically by Loki. But they had some another thing that really made me laugh was when Thor was talking about how his whole life Loki been playing pranks on him, and he's like, so one time Loki takes the form of a snake, and because he knows I love snakes, so I picked up the snake to admire it, and he turns back into Loki, he goes, it was me the whole time, then he stabbed me.
Yeah, it's like this build up, and then he stabbed me.
It was me the whole time, then he stabbed me.
Yeah. It was very, very humorous movie.
Yeah, it was pretty great.
Which I think they probably need a lot of humorous movies after Civil War being as dreary and serious as it was.
Yeah,
and then as dreary and serious as the Infinity Wars movies have to be.
Mm-hmm.
They've got to fit some humorous ones in there.
Yeah, because Black Panther is going to be really serious too.
Yeah, because man, Infinity War is going to be.
Yeah, it's going to be heavy.
So they've got to.
I mean, they all have their little lighthearted moments scattered throughout, but this whole movie is kind of intended to buoy you up.
Yeah.
For the most part. I mean, some serious stuff goes down. Asgard gets destroyed. But as they say, Asgard is a people, not a place. Or something like that.
Yeah, some bullshit.
Yeah, it's just to make themselves feel better because their planet gets destroyed, but... What was, Carl Urban, when he's the new Heimdall? Because Loki, who's disguised as Odin, gets rid of Heimdall. And so he makes Carl Urban, his character, whatever his name was.
Scourge.
Yeah, Scourge, Heimdall. And so he's travels to Earth to get stuff. And he's got a moped and stuff. And he has these two M16s.
Yeah.
And he says, I call them Des and Troy. Because you put them together, they destroy. I got it in a place called Texas.
Yeah. Which, man, those are some serious high capacity 30-round magazines.
Oh man, those 30-round mags held to hold at least 100 rounds.
Yeah.
Each.
Yeah. But they were put to good use.
Yeah.
Carl, I could tell, once it kept showing close-ups of Carl Urban, disappearing into the crowd, I was like, he's gonna have a change of heart.
I should have realized. I was thinking about this, and it shouldn't surprise me because of his performance in Dread, but he's got a really expressive face.
Yeah.
Like, he acts a lot with his facial expressions.
It's just, what people know him for most these days, he has a perpetual look of being worried.
Yeah.
That's like the only... his facial expression he has through the whole of the Star Trek movies is worried.
He does a lot of work with his eyebrows and a lot of work with his mouth as far as facial expression acting goes.
Yeah, he has this, like, grimace he makes.
Yeah.
And, like, this thing he does with his eyebrows that makes him look really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably all we really have to say about this movie.
Yeah, there's not really a whole lot of plot to spoil. We know, Thor... So, Ragnarok begins. Hela is unleashed from her prison to take over Asgard. Thor and Loki are... She tries... In their process of trying to kill them, they accidentally get sent off to this other planet because they're thrown out of the Bifrost beam.
While
traveling through it.
Oop, just hit the mic. While traveling from Midgard to Asgard.
Midgard is Earth, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, from traveling from Earth to Asgard, they get thrown from the Bifrost beam, and they wind up on that planet. And Thor is made to be a combatant in this battle arena.
A gladiator,
and he fights the Hulk. Oh, and that rock guy, he's pretty. Like when he she was like, oh yeah, I tried to have a revolution one time, but it failed because I didn't make enough flyers, and the only people that showed up were my mother and her boyfriend, who I hate.
Yeah. Yeah, he was another really funny dialogue character.
He had a lot of great lines. And but yeah. And then so they escape, and there's this woman working for the Grand Master who turns out is a Valkyrie, and she had fought Hela before Thor was even born, and she was like the only surviving Valkyrie, and she fled or something. And anyway, they all go back to defeat Hela and save all their people and yada yada yada. It's a pretty straightforward and fairly predictable.
And Hulk wrestles Fenrir.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Fenrir is this giant wolf that's part of Ragnarok.
Yep.
I don't think probably in the Marvel universe he is not the son of Loki, but
probably not.
He's the son of Loki.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a massive wolf that he devours a bunch of the gods, I believe, in Ragnarok, in the actual Ragnarok.
Yeah.
I say the actual, but the myth of Ragnarok, not the movie.
Or the comic.
Or the
comic arc.
Anyway, yeah, there's not like a whole lot more to say. I definitely say go see it. It's a lot of fun. Some very funny moments.
Yep. So next week is Murder on the Orient Express. I've been so waiting for this movie. I want it so bad. It looks so good. And I need this movie to be good because it's the only movie between us and Justice League. Which I assume
will not be so great.
Yeah. I'm sure
just based on their track record.
I'm sure we'll be seeing that, and
hey, maybe it'll be the next Wonder Woman. Who knows?
Doubtful.
I have a lot of...
Considering it's not the same writer and director as Wonder Woman?
I have a lot of hope for Jason Momoa.
Carrying the entire movie?
Well, the scenes he's in, anyway.
Yeah. And the week after that's Coco, which looks like a bullshit copy of
The Book of Life.
The Book of Life.
It'll probably get more recognition, but The Book of Life was amazing.
Yep.
And this looks sort of mediocre.
That had Channing Tatum in it, right?
Yes?
I think so. But anyway, so that's what we got coming up.
Ron Perlman in it.
Yeah, he was the bad guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what we have coming up as far as more newfangled motion picture shows. Otherwise, streaming over on Twitch. Don't know what we're going to stream this week. We didn't have a stream last week because I just passed the hell out.
Niall was too tired to play games.
Look, man, I tried. But I just, like, literally, I was at my computer and passed out. So, it happens. So,
well, I don't know, are we going to be able to do it this week after the Saturday we're going to have and the Sunday we're going to have? We'll see.
We'll see. So, but yeah, check that out. It's everything_is_bad on Twitch. So go check that out there. Check back here next week for our review on Murder on the Orient Express. So, and until next time.
The detective did it.
Yeah, it's the detective.
Yeah.
I will tell you this, I don't think it's the gangster.
Anyway, so see you next time. Bye-bye.
Toodaloo. Bye-bye.